So I've been doing this for 2 decades, and you keep thinking it's going to slow down. You keep thinking like we're going to get a chance to catch our breath, and I just don't see that happening. In the past 5 years, we've seen a massive change in distribution. Everything's gone social. The homepage has become completely atomized. People go into websites sideways. I think what's going to happen, especially with wearables, with screens that are kind of ubiquitous and personalized, is that you're really only going to get the chance to tell the story in a headline, in a tweet, and that's going to be it. So the story is going to be broken up into smaller and smaller units of fact, of insight, of quotable soundbite, and we'll have to think about stories that way. We'll have to deconstruct them, break them down, and then reconstruct them from these little atomic pieces. Well, everything's happening faster and at higher volume. You know, the problem is that my personal bandwidth doesn't change. I only have one inbox, and it gets more and more cluttered. And now I'm getting LinkedIn emails and DMs and, you know, app mentions. Every possible channel I'm getting pitched. So it's really kind of breaking down. It's a tragedy of the commons, right? So I kind of rely more and more on known quantities, people I've worked with before, people whose names I recognize when they pop up in my inbox. It's kind of the only way to survive. I think the flip side of that is I lose a little serendipity. So I try to find that through other means by going out and meeting people. But it's definitely a challenge. There's got to be a surprise, right? There's got to be some element of the story that you weren't expecting. Like I loved a recent story I did about Airbnb that was about their technology management. People don't think of Airbnb really as a tech company. They think of it as a hospitality provider. And yet there's a lot of technology involved, and they have kind of strong opinions about how they want to manage engineers and run the company. So I look for that surprise. LinkedIn as a purveyor, not just of content, we know that they're pushing a lot of articles, but of identity. That's kind of interesting. For example, they're going up arguably with Microsoft as the source of someone's professional identity. Microsoft is doing it from kind of the top down, from your employment with a company that provides you your email. LinkedIn is doing it from the bottom up, where you're kind of defining yourself through your connections, your knowledge, your skills. Well, there's always been a movement from journalism to communications, right? It's almost since the beginnings of PR as an industry. That's where people found a lot of the professionals to staff agencies and staff in-house communications arms. The logic was the journalist knows how to tell stories. This is just another way to tell a story. So it's been happening for a long time. I think that the sheer numbers of people in PR are it's getting kind of staggering. The latest stat I saw was that PR people outnumber journalists from 3 to 1, and that creates an interesting dynamic. That it goes into that tragedy of the commons that I talk about. I think we'll have to worry if at some point there are no journalists left for the PR people to pitch. That'll be a problem. My guideline for whether or not we're really in a bubble is whether there is a cheese sommelier at your party. I went to a party at 2000 where there was a Norwegian chef hand slicing pieces of cheese for partygoers who just couldn't be bothered to cut their own. And I've decided that is like the high watermark of decadence and excess. I have not spotted a cheese sommelier. That said, I'm going to a cocktail party with some startup founders tonight, and if there's a cheese sommelier there, I will tweet it, and you can all run for the hills.
This is the barometer. Excellent. Well, thank you.